All right, so welcome back. I'm really excited today. I know I say that all of the time, but really, really excited today because I get to introduce you to one of my favorite people on the planet. She is amazing. We've only known each other for 2 or 3 short years. I honestly don't know, but it feels like a lifetime just because she's one of those friends that we can go deep together in conversation and there's no judgment. And I love that. And I love that she is an amazing coach because we can coach each other because coaches need coaches. And I know that she will call me out on my BS. And I know I can tell her all of my craziness and she will love me anyway. So I want to welcome Angela Singletary to Pharmacists on Fire today. And we are going to talk about something deep because that's what we do on this podcast. We talk about all the things. And today we're going to talk about sobriety. So Angela, welcome. I am really happy that you said yes to this. I know it wasn't an easy yes, but like we've said before, it's those difficult yeses that push us past our comfort zone that lead and open the door to amazing things. So, all right. So how are you feeling about being here today?
I feel good. It's the first time that I've spoken specifically on this topic in a very pointed way, but I have all the trust in you, so I think it's a great start.
Awesome. Well, I'm really proud of you. We'll just start there. All right. So before we dive in, tell us a little bit about yourself. What does life for Angela look like?
Yeah, so I'm a single mom of three. My kids are 12, 10, and 7. So that's the majority of my life. I am a life and wellness coach, and I love helping women find self-love where they are today, not once they achieve certain goals or reach certain things or become, unstuck or get their stuff together, as women love to say. And so that's where I spend the rest of my time when I'm not being a mom, which is obviously my pride and joy. But my passion is helping women ages 35 to 55 get unstuck and find themselves, find self-love. We do that through I'm blanking, I'm sorry. We do that through strategic goal setting, gradual and strategic goal setting. And I also love to knit. It is the thing that I use to kind of unwind lately, especially since I stopped drinking. And I love, spending time with friends every now and then. I think personal time is an important part of your wellness. So that's the gist of me.
I think there's so much more to say. Like there's so much to you. And I think over the past 2 years, watching you evolve and grow and watch some amazing things happen for you, I feel like it's been a lot of fun. But you are a best-selling author. You have 2 books coming out. You are a leader and a spokeswoman for Little People of America. I just there's so much. Like we could say so much more about that, but we will go ahead and move on to the topic. So if you're ready, tell me a little bit about how you would describe your relationship with alcohol, your relationship with alcohol prior to October of 2020.
Yeah, so that's an interesting question because, of course, hindsight is 2020, right? So, if you were to have asked me that on, October 31st of last year, I would have said, I lean on it more than I would like, and I just would like, to be able to not use it as a buffer. But then since then, in processing things and looking back, I've seen that I've always had a rough relationship with alcohol since I was 18, I went to school in New Orleans. I went to Loyola. I got a scholarship and went off to Loyola, and then that freedom, both physically, because I'm not in my parents' roof, or I'm out on my own, but then also in a place like New Orleans where you're 18 and you can really easily drink. Led to some terrible decisions, and ended up with me losing my scholarship and coming back home, and just seeing then that I didn't know when to stop. I would drink to excess. It wasn't an all day every day kind of thing, but it was just, and that's probably why I didn't really think much of it. But looking back, I just seemed to never really have a great balance with my relationship with alcohol. um, and it's ebbed and flowed in those years since, but I can't say that it's ever been ideal.
Yeah. And I just, for my audience, if for those people who maybe haven't listened to me before, if they've listened to me at all, I talk about buffering all the time, and you and I have talked about buffering all the time too. Um, but Angela mentioned using alcohol to buffer, and that just means like anything that we use externally to try to numb out any discomfort. So for some people, they turn to alcohol and drugs. For some people, it's shopping. For some people, it's scrolling social media. Like a lot of times it's legal, it's socially acceptable, but it's all about not having to deal with emotion. So I just wanted to bring that up because I think that's so important when we're talking about over drinking.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so in that time between 18 and October of last year, like what were there other things other than fun, right? Because when you're 18, it's just fun. You're
Right.
just going out with friends, it's what you do. There's probably nothing else behind it. I mean,
Right.
maybe for some people there are. I guess I'm just thinking about myself at
Mm-hmm.
18. But can you think of like what were there ever emotions or urges or thoughts driving you to want to drink?
Mm-hmm. So again, hindsight and looking back, at 18, it was always done under the guise of fun and during fun times. I had a lot of fun with my friends when I was young, but I realized that I probably drank the amount that I did to mask my insecurities. Being I'm 4 foot tall. Being a person with dwarfism, comes with a lot of baggage. And so when you're going out dancing with your friends, because that's what we loved to do, drinking got those insecurities down enough to where I could go out and not worry about other people staring or snickering or pointing or whatever it may be, because those things truly did happen. And so, but having to get to that point, intoxicated wise, kind of led to it not just stopping when I was like, oh, I'm comfortable now, I'm good. Um, and so that was the buffering I did then. Of course, it was just during fun times, but it was still, I believe, in hindsight, looking back, I believe that was kind of the reason behind it being the way that it was. And then as I got older, it just became, end of the day, every now, it would be just stress release, from, I was in a really toxic marriage. So, stress release from that, which I didn't really drink excessively that much during that time, because I didn't want him to use it against me. But when I would drink, it was never like just a glass or two. It would be like a bottle of wine. And it was to numb the stress and the pain. And that just continued on. Um, and I had a lot of loss, very close back to back. I lost my grandfather, who was very much like a father to me. Um, well, I lost my uncle, who I was pretty close to, and then we actually had to be the ones to make the decision to let go of his life support. and because we were the family that he had here. And then not long after that, my grandfather passed. And then my mom and my sister, who we'd always lived near each other on the coast, ended up needing to move to California. So they moved to San Diego, and that was rough. And then a few months later, my sister passed away. So then I had to go out to California and get my mom and bring her back. And so it was a lot of traumas that I was not facing head on because it was just a lot. And, I'm a single mom of three. I had a lot going on in that realm. My son has a lot of special needs himself that come with some baggage. And then, but really, I think, and I don't know if this is even what you're asking me, but really, I think a big kind of turning point was moving my mom back and having to deal with losing my sister, on top of kind of coming to terms with some things that I had not even realized were stuffed down regarding my mom and my childhood and that kind of thing. Um, and that stuff kind of coming up before I was ready. Um, so that was really, the biggest thing uh, before I finally decided to quit.
Yeah. And I think all of that, for the most part, other than being a woman that's 4 foot tall, almost all adults deal with some version of that, right? Like at some point we experience loss, maybe not so close together and back to back, and it's not always the same loss. Like I'm not comparing loss, but just like when we get to be adults, I mean, there are just so many situations that feel uncomfortable and that we're grieving and it's loss and it's hard. And
Mhm.
there's fear and anxiety and whatever. And it's just so acceptable to turn to alcohol. And I've heard it like in Rachel Hollis's book, she talks about, like mommy juice, like,
Mhm.
oh, it's 4 o'clock, it's time for mommy juice. And that makes it socially acceptable, right?
Mhm.
Um, and I think we're hearing it more and more. It's becoming, I think it's something that we turn to. It's a vice that feels okay. Like it's okay to do this. It's not a problem. Um, but it turns into one when we stop managing our emotions. So I want to keep going forward on this, but I want to go back to something else that you said, if it's okay.
Mhm.
One of the things that you said, like when you were younger, the going out with the friends and the dancing and drinking to build up that false sense of confidence and to build up kind of an emotional wall around yourself. That's not what you said, but that's kind of what I
Mhm.
envisioned when you said it, so that you could confidently go out and not worry about people staring at
Mhm.
you or people. That hasn't changed for you. I know that still happens. So now what has changed over the past, 15 years or more, that like now how are you dealing with that differently? How have you evolved in that way?
Mhm. Um, just genuine self-love and growing true confidence. I never really, growing up, it was a rough childhood, and I didn't have a lot of confidence instilled in me. Being different was not, really the easiest thing, and I certainly didn't have the positive attention from boys growing up. And you internalize that, and then I married into a toxic marriage where I was, very much emotionally abused and told lots of things about myself that I believed, and then things that, I came to believe. And so walking away from that and, putting my foot down and just saying it's enough and just doing the work after that. I mean, as you know, I've done a lot of personal development, a lot, and have really grown to appreciate who I am, what I've been through, and value who I am, and saying, I am attractive enough. I don't need to be, you know, everybody's favorite, and that's fine, but I am fine with how I look, and I am fine with who I am. And also taking on a mentality of not so much like, and if you don't like it, F you, but more so, if you don't like it, then that's a reflection on you. And to be able to recognize, I've done a lot of schooling with psychology and stuff like that. And so to be able to recognize that when people are hateful and hurtful, that it's 99.999% of the time never even about you. It's about them. And being able to kind of recognize that and understand that helps you to quit internalizing the things that they say and do. The Four Agreements is one of my all-time favorite books, and it's never personal. Nothing is ever about you. Um, and so doing the work to grow my confidence to become the person that I want to become, and then recognizing that people are people, and they're in their own world, and it doesn't have anything to do with you, helps me to continue to hold my confidence when there are situations going on, like somebody saying something, or staring, which you're right, I mean, that obviously doesn't quit, and now I have 3 kids, and so it probably happens even more than it ever has, but I'm able to brush it off a lot easier because it's not personal, it's just people.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Especially since we didn't talking about that, but since it came up, it just came to mind. And it's interesting that I just had this conversation this morning with someone else that hurt people,
Hmm.
like those. And so, like, I used to be that person too, that when somebody did something negative towards me, whether it was an action or words, I then retaliated in that same way. And now I look at it like, I think after going through what I went through with my daughter, now I'm like, everybody has something going on and they're
Hmm.
hurting,
Hmm.
and it's not about me. But it took that. It took me going through that very painful thing in my life to get to that place. And I think that evolution that you just talked about, like working on yourself and your confidence and your self-love, is what makes you the perfect coach to help other women go through that. So I think that that's amazing. So I know that back in October, and I don't remember exactly when I reached out to you, but I know I'm the one who reached out to you about coaching you on reducing your drinking, is what I thought we were going to be working on, because I was going through life coach certification at the time, and that was something that I was learning to coach more. And we've talked about it a lot over
Hmm.
the course of our friendship. And so I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to see if she's open to me coaching her through this program. And so I know I reached out to you, but what made you say yes? Because you very easily could have been like offended,
Hmm.
kind of put off by it, or it might not have been the right time. But why did you say yes? And what was going on kind of in at that specific time that made you say yes?
Yeah, so the universe, I believe the universe has my back, and things are so often perfectly timed, and that is certainly one of them. So, and we met when I was working at Habitat for Humanity. That's how we met. And you were one of my women build team leaders. And I was doing that when I graduated from Tulane and got my degree in wellness. And I knew you were a health coach. And so you and I talked about that. And then I started doing health coaching while I was working at Habitat. And then in December of 2019, I left Habitat full time, took the leap to do my wellness coaching full time in January of 2020. And we all know what happened in March 2020. So it was a really intense time to be a single mom of 3 and a new entrepreneur. Um, and it was stressful and it was hard. I love my kids, but I'm not built for homeschooling. that's not my calling, never has been. I've always said that. I've always, like, when it's teacher appreciation time, I will appreciate the hell out of those teachers because I don't know how they do it. And so I was trying to run a new business and, not catch a virus and homeschool my children, and maintain my sanity. And so I really, last year, like a lot of people, in all fairness, I found myself leaning on alcohol a little more. It became the running joke of day drinking and all that. And so, um, but like you mentioned prior to that, we had talked about, I have had struggles with drinking more than I would like and drinking more often than I would like. And so, we would take breaks and you would coach me through that. And so I was aware of the potential that this could, grow into, this could snowball into, with my current, already kind of struggle with alcohol as it was, on top of all of the things that I felt like I should buffer from because I really didn't want to feel all those feelings. And it was, so last year, I tried several times to not drink, or I would take breaks, or what have you. And so it's kind of off and on, and just in my heart felt like I probably needed to just stop. My mom and dad were both raging alcoholics growing up, so I could see what I could get to, but I also use that as kind of a justification for, I mean, I'm not like that, so that kind of helped me to continue my rough relationship with alcohol. And um so I say all that to say that last year was very up and down, up and down. And when you reached out to me about that, it was honestly perfect timing. I was already at the point where I realized I need to stop. Like, it's not a cut back or anything like that. It's a, I need to stop. And I had just gone through a pretty painful and unexpected breakup. And so, you know, I knew, like, if the time was going to be, it needed to be now, because otherwise, I can't start buffering this situation away and then expect that I'm going to be able to stop after that. And so you reached out and, I was like, yeah, I want to stop drinking. And you're like, well, you don't have to stop. We can, and I was like, no, like, that's my goal. That's what I need. And so, yeah, so it was perfect timing. I couldn't have said yes fast enough. I was grateful. I had honestly looked into different programs before you had reached out to me, and there's not really. I obviously can't do inpatient. I'm a single mom of three, and outpatient is expensive, and then it takes up your whole day. Like, it's not what I thought it was, which I didn't have any basis for what my thoughts were. Um, and I didn't feel like AA was really for me. I didn't feel like it really suited me. I went to a few Zoom meetings and it just didn't, I didn't connect with that. And so I really kind of didn't have a lot more options at that point when you had reached out to me. So it was really perfect timing.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I didn't know that you had researched other programs, so that's interesting to know. So knowing that now, what if I had not have reached out and you had researched those things, including AA, because I was going to ask about that. So I'm so glad you brought it up. What was your plan? What were you going to do before I reached out?
I was going to probably gather my friends, and I probably would have reached out to you and had just a really hardcore accountability team, which we all know doesn't necessarily work, doesn't usually work, because it's hard to be accountable to your friends, and it's hard to feel like a consistent obligation to your friends, and plus they're not there to dispense the real, like, words that you need. They're there to be your friend and they're there to talk to you, but the difference between having a handful of friends that check in on me and make sure I'm still sober versus having someone who's able to literally coach me through is like night and day. But really that was kind of where I was, because I didn't know, there wasn't a whole lot of other options.
Yeah, and you do have it seems, at least from my perspective, and I feel like at least you I mean, I get this from you, so I'm assuming you believe it too, but you seem to have an amazing support system. I mean, you
Mhm.
have a group of friends that really is there for you and loves you and supports you and
Mhm.
would do the best of their ability to support you through that,
Mhm.
or whatever else that you need. And it's, and so people are probably like, but wait a minute, you guys are friends. So how is that different? But I mean, I feel like I said before we got started, look, the minute we hop on these Zooms
Mhm.
for this specific purpose, I'm no longer your friend, I'm your
Yep.
coach, and I'm probably going to say some things that you don't like,
Mhm.
you know?
Absolutely.
So how do you feel like coaching impacted your sobriety journey?
I mean, I think it was a really great structure. We are friends, but I respect you as a coach, and you were certainly my coach during those calls. And I knew that I could count on that because you've coached me before, and so I knew that that would be the case. Um, the structure, the consistency, and then just the way that that you were able to help talk me through overcoming potential things that come up, or have you thought about this, just different perspectives, um, and being prepared, and then the techniques that you gave me to sort of reward myself, and and process the process itself. All of those things were key in that time period that we were working together.
Well, I'm honored that you had said yes. And it obviously, because I love you so much, makes me so happy that I had an impact on that. And I'm thankful that you allowed me to do that with you. So now it's April 18th. I think you had your last drink on like Halloween, right? October 31st of 2020. So however many months that is, 5-ish or something. I don't even
Mhm.
know, 6. Um, so how would you describe your relationship with alcohol now?
So I don't drink, and it's fine. It's There have been, honest in all honesty, there have been probably just a handful of times where the urge has really hit, and it's but I haven't given in or anything like that. Went to bars with my friends, and I drink club soda, and um and every Friday night I make myself a fancy mocktail. Um and it may sound strange, but I really have managed to trick myself into feeling like it's relaxing. Like I have a little routine. Every Friday night we do family movie night. And so I block off that afternoon, that evening, no work. I don't do any work um at all. I don't, do anything except, we eat pizza or something like that, and then watch a movie. And so I sit in my chair and I make my drink in a fancy glass, and I can really feel like just the relaxation wash over me. And but I'm very intentional about it. I like allow myself, or I tell myself like that this is relaxing me. And um and so it's the whole thing. Like it wouldn't be the same as if I tried to do that on a Wednesday night, I don't think, because I wouldn't be able to fully relax. But nonetheless, I'm rambling. It's great. Like I went out last night, and I didn't wake up feeling hungover this morning, and I left at 10:30, so I got to bed at a decent time, and I didn't do anything that I was embarrassed about, and I didn't text anybody I shouldn't be texting, and it's good. Like it's really great. I I had this. I felt this message from the universe telling me that, that drinking was holding me back. And I have to say that since I quit, like, things have opened up left and right. Um, I've been on the cover of a magazine. I've been a #1 bestseller. I've done, several public speaking opportunities. I'm the president of the Mississippi chapter of the LPA. I'm secretary of Lighthouse Business of Professional Women. I'm the chair of Women of Achievement. I'm on the development board for the Oro Keith Museum. I'm a Shuck Cancer honoree. I was just asked to be a Make-A-Wish honoree, but I actually had to turn that down because I literally don't have time. And I felt awful that I turned it down, but I did, because boundaries are something else that you get to really work on when you're sober, because when you're not sober, you don't have any boundaries. You make all kinds of bad decisions. And even if they're not bad decisions, life-changing decisions, they're decisions on your time, how you're spending your time, or what you're eating, and all those kinds of things. So yeah, it's been a game changer, and it feels really, really damn good.
I love that. And I so many things I could go back and say about that, but I'll start with you have like that list of things probably isn't even all inclusive, that you just were able to talk about all of the things that have opened up for you since October. And you probably wouldn't have had the capacity or the energy to do half of those things and do them well. But you're showing up in a different way. You're showing up in a different way for yourself. You're showing up in a different way for your kids, for your clients, for our community. And I think that that's amazing and life-changing. And I could cry. You said Friday nights, you just like, you're relaxing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so glad that you brought that up, because the thing is, our feelings, you have this feeling of relax, they come from our thoughts, right?
Mm-hmm.
The alcohol is a false sense of relaxation, and it has consequences, right? Whereas just like relaxing and knitting and having that quality time with your kids and your family on Fridays, there are no consequences to that.
Mm-hmm.
The thing about buffering is there's always a net negative consequence. That's how you know you're buffering. There's a net negative consequence. And then the other thing that you brought up is you're listing all of the things that you aren't experiencing because of alcohol. And that's an exercise we went through. Like, what are all of the things that you're like, how is not drinking impacting your life in a positive way? I'm not going to ever have a DUI. Like, I'll be available to my kids no matter what, no matter when, right? No matter what time of day it is. I'm not wasting money on alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
If you want, I mean, and wasting, right? Just an opinion, just a term, but not spending alcohol or budgeting for money on alcohol that maybe you didn't have. Just all of those things. And so I encourage anybody who's looking to either cut back on drinking or stop drinking altogether. Like, I think that's an amazing first step. Like, write down all of the ways drinking is impacting your life in a negative way, and make an all-inclusive list of all of the ways that life could be better if you stopped. I think that can be really powerful. And the thing about when you're doing exercises like that, like, don't do it when the TV's on and the kids are running around. Like, take some time, get up a little bit early in the morning or stay up late, and whenever your creative time is, and really put some thought into it and meditate on it, and leave your mind open to it, because things will keep coming to you. Even when you think that you've written everything down, like, random thoughts will come to you, like, oh, that'll never happen to me again. Oh, I'll never do that again. The drunk texting and the, whatever. So I love that. So any closing words, anything that you want to share that maybe we didn't talk about?
I would say, like, to carry on with what you were just saying, as far as writing things down, and dig deep, find little things, find little things, because the list is really a lot for most people. And on the same token, think about the good things, that I get to get up, and exercise, or, anyway. So I think that there's a lot of things that you won't miss when you quit drinking. And I think there's a lot of things that you will gain when you quit drinking. And I appreciate that you were always, it doesn't have to be forever. It's up to you if it's forever. And so if you want to go into it with, let me just try it out for a week and see, or a month or whatever, see what that feels like, then you can kind of get a gauge as to whether it's something you want to do longer. Because I think sometimes when we think forever, it just feels like overwhelming. And oh, when my daughter gets married, I won't be able to toast her champagne. And, and you're like, that's not for another 20 years, ma'am. Like, I need you to calm down. So, and mocktails are so fun. They are so fun. And they've come out with so many fun soda waters now. And that's where I spend my money. I buy expensive, bougie soda water instead of champagne, and it's fun. It's been there's not one thing that I miss about drinking, even though it was a big part of my life for a while. There's not, and it's changed a lot. I'm not going to pretend like it hasn't. It has changed a lot of things in my life, neutrally, not necessarily good or bad, but I don't go out, and so I stay home a lot more, and that means I don't see a lot of the friends that I used to see as much as I used to see them. So it does change things, but the benefits that I've gotten, that I've been able to look back and see, have been far, far, far better.
Do you think that you are done? Like this is a forever thing? Yeah.
Yeah, I really do, because and I say I do, but at the same time, if I were to at some point make a very intentional and educated decision to try to drink, then that, I don't want to never say never. I could see myself possibly doing that, but I don't. Currently, right now, I don't see the benefit of it. Because if the whole point of me drinking was to buffer enough to wash away the stresses and the frazzled feelings and all that, then it would never be just one or two glasses of wine. And if I were a drinker, so to speak, that would be what I would want. But I don't see that happening with me. I don't think as I was telling a client the other day, I don't think my dopamine delivery system is set up that way. I think my dopamine delivery system is a little bit wonky, and I've got to be mindful of the things that it's telling me to do because it wants the dopamine. And I think if I were to try to drink, it wouldn't want just one or two glasses, because it would catch on that there's some dopamine in there, essentially. And let's get some more of that, because that's the good stuff. And so it's not really about me wanting to be sloppy drunk. It's about my mind wanting the dopamine, and you just having to be kind of being able to step outside yourself and look in and see that.
Yeah, that is something I have definitely learned about myself, starting with food,
Mm-hmm.
was I don't do moderation. Like
Yeah.
people like to say everything in moderation. Well, that's not true for me. I don't do peanut butter in moderation, and I don't do Oreos in moderation. So
Mm-hmm.
those two things cannot live in my house because I have not learned how to manage my urges around them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe I have. It's been so long since I had them in my house. Maybe I have. Maybe that's something I need to test. But um, yeah. And when it comes to alcohol in social situations and events, alcohol doesn't make the event, right? Like we make everything like focused on food and alcohol when really the focus should be on the people. And
Right.
so, and that's what not drinking does for you. It frees up your mind to focus on the people. So I know I feel like you and I could talk forever. And I think I promised you 30 minutes and we've been going on for 40. So we can wrap this up, but I want you to know how as your coach, how incredibly proud of you I am, and as your friend, how much I love you and how excited I am for you and what this is doing for you and your family. And thank you, thank you, thank you for saying yes to doing this. I know it wasn't an easy decision, and I'm honored that you did say yes and allowed me to have this conversation with you so publicly.
Well, thank you, Jackie. Thank you for your friendship and your mentoring and your coaching, and for reaching out and making that ask, because it was, I have no doubt that it was what made all the difference. It was the key, and I wouldn't be living this incredible life that I'm living right now if you hadn't.
All right, my friend. Well, thanks again. Love you.
Love you too.